It'll be wet. How much rain we're going to get? All back here in just a few minutes. We'll see you then.
Well, imagine suddenly losing your job and then being told you're not eligible for unemployment benefits. That's the situation tens of thousands of out-of-work Californians are finding themselves in. Now, they can appeal the decision, but that can take months. And according to a scathing state audit, it's not just because there are so many other people also with pending appeals. KTVU's Maureen Naylor has tonight's special report.
Chris Wieland has a lot of time for her sewing these days. She was laid off from her office job at a San Francisco nonprofit in January and has not found work.
My severance is just about gone, and I'm going to have to start dipping into 401ks.
In January, Wieland applied for unemployment benefits, but says she was denied because she was taking a tailoring class. Wieland says the denial was unfair. Her Assemblywoman Nancy Skinner agrees.
The woman was enrolled in a training course that only took 3 hours a week. So all of the other hours in that week, she was conceivably available to go to work.
In February, Wieland filed an appeal, joining 68,000 Californians still waiting for a hearing.
It's just been difficult to hold my chin up this whole time. You know, when you feel like a system that's been put there to help you is not doing that.
Last week, Wieland got her hearing. Almost 4 months since she was laid off, 2 months since she appealed. That's too long, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. The agency has repeatedly warned California to hear those appeals within 30 days, but it says the state hears less than 4% of the cases on time. According to government data, California takes longer to resolve unemployment appeals than any other state except Virginia. And the U.S. Department of Labor says it has seen no significant improvement in those wait times. This 27-year-old San Leandro man waited 2 months for his hearing and says he had no choice but to move back in with his parents.
Struggle it is, it's really tough.
We met him outside the Oakland office of the Unemployment Appeals Board, which records show is one of the slowest offices in the state. So what's behind the massive backlog? The Bureau of State Audits found nepotism is a major problem throughout the system.
We need to finish conducting our business, so sorry. Thank you.
Most of the appeals board members declined to talk to us when we approached them in a Sacramento meeting. However, acting executive director Jihan Flagg later told us by phone that nepotism findings in the audit are accurate.
I mean, some of them had up to 4 and 5 family members working at one time.
In fact, Flagg says the board asked for the audit. She blames poor prior leadership for making nepotism an organizational culture. Since the audit, Flagg says the department has started enforcing an anti-nepotism policy and reorganized senior staff. While some employees welcomed the audit, she says others did not.
They had it pretty good here for a really long time because they were flying under the radar.
Making the backlog worse is rising unemployment. The appeals board has gone from handling 200,000 cases in 2007 to an expected 500,000 this year. Ultimately, almost half of all appeals are decided in favor of those seeking unemployment benefits.
I used to work for the department for a really long time, and I went through a couple of recessions, but it's never been like this.
Adele Ellis spent more than 2 decades with the Employment Development Department. She now helps people making appeals and believes one of the biggest challenges they face is access.
People cannot get through. They cannot get through to questioning people. And in that case, their checks can be held up.
It's very confusing, especially since you can't talk to a real person ever on the phone.
Appeals board members say they're trying new over-the-phone hearings, redistributing the workload, and hiring more staff.
What we've done on the appellate side is hire new judges. We've worked in overtime situations, and we as board members are also deciding cases faster.
I understand that they're trying to hire more people, but I remember when I started, training is like forever.
Even as the appeals board ramps up staff, the governor's requiring it to furlough office workers once a month.
Since the compensation of these state workers is actually federal funds, we're not saving anything. To put EDD staff on a furlough right now is like putting fire department staff on furlough when you have a wildfire.
In Oakland, people at the appeals office continue to wait.
It's hard. It's hard. They don't have any support, you know.
A problem that everyone agrees will take a while to solve. In Oakland, Maureen Naylor, KTVU, Channel 2 News.
Whelan says, by the way, that she is still waiting for a decision on her appeal. In the meantime, the former director of the Unemployment Appeals Board, who was ousted during the state audit, points out that nepotism is not illegal unless it involves a relative directly supervising another relative. He also says that under his leadership, the agency broke no laws, and he calls the state audit, quote, a witch hunt. You can always turn to KTVU.com for the latest employment stories. You'll find them on the main page under the header Economy Watch.